This is the talk show that takes a no-holds-barred approach to politics, where truth and integrity are the standard and the Constitution honored. From Renaissance Studios, this is Champion News Talk Radio.
Welcome to another great edition of Champion News Talk Radio, brought to you by ChampionNews.net, your choice for the conservative voice. This is Ann Parisi. Today, our founder, Jack Roser, and myself have our friend and fellow Champion News editor, Lennie Jarrett. But today's show is going to be very special because there's something coming up and brewing in December here. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Morning. Well, trying to catch my breath from this pre-election sprint that we are on.
Yeah, well, the election is over, and I'm so glad that's behind us. But you know what we have coming up? Our school board elections in April.
Well, that's what I'm referring to.
Yep.
What is the final date for getting the petitions in to be on a school board?
They are December 17th through December 24th, so it's going to be interesting to see how many school districts stay open to take petitions on Christmas Eve.
17th to 24th.
Yes. It only takes 50 signatures to get your name on the ballot to run for school board.
Although there is something called a petition challenge.
Yes.
So if you are petitioning to get on the school board, you want to triple that. So 150 signatures, which can be done in a day.
Yeah, it's not hard. Yeah, just go out there, and I recommend getting as many signatures as you can get. If you get 300-400, then you can go through and pick which ones you want to turn in to make sure you've got plenty of valid signatures.
And school boards.
Now, why would somebody want to get on a school board?
There you go. I was going to say, what's the importance of school boards and school board elections?
You get to pick the vacations and all of that. And you get a seat at the graduation.
Yep, and you all the plays.
And you get to spend all those lovely millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Taxpayer dollars.
Taxpayer dollars. Let's just throw a nice little figure out here. The average cost of a K-12 education per year, per student, is $16,000. It happens that's the average for Chicago and for the whole state. But probably if you live in the northeast corner, you've got real spenders in charge.
Yes, so Niles 219 is over $30,000 per year and stuff for their high school district. There's some districts that are, even Rondout was K-12. Theirs is well over $20,000 a year per student.
Wait, Niles what?
Niles District 219 is about $34,000 a year, if I can remember correctly. I don't know the exact number, but that's approximate.
I went to Niles West High School, and that's District 219.
219.
So I had this very, very expensive education. And I can't multiply or divide fractions.
When you get further from this crazy northeast corner, it changes a lot. You go downstate, and the downstate people have retained more of their American good common sense, because I guess they're closer to farmers who actually work for a living. And also the cost of living downstate's about 30% less than it is up here.
Right.
So with one thing or another, the education level is, for the dollar, a little bit better downstate than up here. But the 80% that's north of I-80 are the crazy people that have, guess what, bankrupted the state.
Yeah, when you got the Chicago teachers going on strike, they were already the highest paid teachers for a major metropolitan city in the country. Lake Forest teachers went on strike, and their average salary was the highest in the state, and it's over $100,000 a year.
A teacher's salary is $100,000
The average, yeah.
And that's a part-time. How many months of the year do teachers actually work?
It's about, well, depending on the school, every school districts have different hours, but it's about 9 to 9.5 months, depending on their in-service.
It's about 170 days.
Plus, well, then they get their beginning and ending time. So, yeah, it's
normal
not the
people
same,
work 240.
Yep.
They work 170.
Okay, and what are their days?
The length of the day is less.
Well, that's what I was going to say. What is the length of the day?
They've just changed Chicago upward. It's about 5 hours a day. They've changed them up to 6.
Yeah, they're one of the lowest. There's some schools, the majority of the schools that I've seen, their contracts are anywhere from 6.5 to about 7.5 hours a day.
I was against raising the number of hours in a school day in Chicago, because I firmly believe that if you've got a lousy, rancid 12-egg omelet, that adding one more or two more fresh eggs to it isn't going to help any. It's a stinking lousy education system that's boring the hell out of the good students. and pestering those that aren't.
Well, we're going to scare off all the school board candidates here.
This thing is a non-functional deal, and extending the day is cruel punishment to the kids. And in fact, it is cruel punishment because extending the day is going to hurt the kids in high school that would normally have a job. They're going to spend a few more hours in school, and they're going to learn no more from that crappy school system than they did before.
And lengthen the day is just a symptom of the real problem. It's somebody trying to do something, but they're not fixing the real problem that's there.
Which is the real, what is the real problem?
The real problem is the parents are not as involved, and we have to empower the parents, because right now the parents are just, the parents don't have a choice as to where their kid goes to school. So they're stuck in some bad schools. The parents aren't as involved. And you'll notice the best ranking schools are the ones where the parents are involved. The way you have to empower the parents. The parents need to be able to pick the school where their child goes.
Now, let me ask you something.
This is not happening in the public school system.
Right.
The parents don't get to pick them at all unless you happen to be a big politician in the city of Chicago, and they've got special schools where the politicians send their kids so they don't have to put up with the crap that the ordinary people that aren't politicians in the city of Chicago go. So you find a few schools in Chicago that have records that aren't as bad as the rest.
Yeah.
But let's get straight about records. The North Shore kids, when you put them in a competition against Australia, Korea, Germany, England, or the 30 other industrial nations, our better schools here will typically rank in that list down around 20, 25 out of 30. And we stink at the best schools here, K-12 schools.
Yes.
We stink compared to what the rest of the world is doing.
Our rankings have gone
That's why China is coming on in science and so forth.
Our SAT
We're bringing on
scores,
kids that can't even do arithmetic.
Oh, I know. The SAT scores are now the lowest they've been, I believe. I think the starting point was 40 years.
You know what's problematic, though, is we keep pouring money into our children's education.
Yep.
Are taxpayer dollars really going to children's education?
It's getting diverted in a lot of ways. The number I said.
Thanks for setting it up.
Yeah.
You know better.
Yeah, I know.
You know the answer to that.
We have lots of answers, but there's lots of answers. We've talked about this before. The building. When you look at Niles 219, it's about half and half. A lot of that's going to their building and construction, which is going back out. It's not going to the child's education. And then the money that's coming in is going back to the unions as well. The union money that's going out, flowing back out. And the money is not getting to the classroom where it belongs.
Okay, specifically
even if it does get to the
class.
classroom, let's take a quick look at you got $16,000 per child, and that's getting spent, and that doesn't include the pension thing that has run up a huge debt that's bankrupted the state. But take the $16,000, and let's say you've got 20 kids in a classroom. That comes up to $320,000 a year per classroom. Now, hopefully you got more kids in the classroom, and it looks even more evil. But how do you spend $320,000 a year on one classroom? The teachers are probably getting, on the average, something around $60,000, $70,000. And many of them are getting huge amounts, like $100,000.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of teachers, driving instructors get like $120,000 a year.
Yeah.
So you're spending over $300,000. There's well less than for $10,000 I can get you 1,000 square foot of classroom space, all heated in with a custodian to make it nice. So now we're up to maybe 70 or 80,000. Throw in 10,000 for books and buses. You might strain your milk to get to $100,000 per classroom to make some kind of sense if you and I were running it. But they're getting 300,000. Where in Christ? It ain't in Christ's name. Where does that $200,000 go?
Yeah, there's a lot going into administration.
Beyond
there's
any
a lot
reasonable
not getting to the
cost of education.
Yep.
You might say overhead. Well, why do you need a lot of overhead when every person, every worker, teacher, has got a college degree and probably advanced ones?
Right.
Every room has got a person supposedly capable of running through their day.
Yep.
This is not just a grammar school graduate. So, although my parents were, and they're a hell of a lot smarter than most of the people that are coming out of our
which is
public schools.
Now, but the problem is, now you just said something that this District 219 does construction. That school was built in like 1955. You're not talking an inner city school that was built in 1912.
Well, they're building a nice new swimming pool in one of the, I forgot which school, they're building a swimming pool.
They all had swimming pools.
What's wrong with old buildings? Listen,
Nothing is wrong with old buildings, but sometimes you need infrastructure. You need additional dollars to repair.
You need some brains running the schools. Listen, taking care of children is a low overhead proposition because you've got a highly degreed genius in every room. And what are you teaching in the K-12 system? For most of it, you're teaching well-known facts, that there's all kinds of information in books and encyclopedias, and now all over the internet. Everything's known that you want to teach these kids. So what is the big problem? You got 860 school districts in the state all doing the same thing. Is there any big mystery to what to do?